Who's changed in the past 90 days?
Every hand better be up in this
Every
room. I know
hand.
all of you.
We've got sighs in the room. We've got heads shaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to Spiritual Girl in a Material World podcast with Natalie Hunter.
And Sam Harper.
How cute is that? We want to share a little bit about the inception of how this podcast even came to life and share a little bit about really this year and how we got to this moment.
Settle in.
Yeah, settle in. And then we're going to take some questions from all of you because that's what really this is all about. This is not a two-woman show. This is a collective, right? This is about coming together with one another. And for Natalie and I, this is our phone conversations every single day that I was like, what if we did a 30-way call? And we got everybody on the phone and we're all just oh my God, do you feel crazy? Yeah, I feel crazy too. Is this happening to you? Yeah. Okay, cool. Not just me.
Not alone, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's our intention for this night.
Yeah, that's the intention. Okay. This really started with something that dropped into you almost 3 years ago. So why don't you kick us off?
Wow. Yes. This dropped in the name. So I was sitting in meditation and prayer, doing some work in a very special place, actually, to me and my husband in Telluride, Colorado. And it was March 2022. And I heard very clearly the words spiritual girl in a material world. And I was like, oh, that's cool. What was that? And I wrote it down. I probably still have the note in my phone where I wrote it down. And I was like, okay, what is that? I'm not sure. And then I sat with it and I started to meditate on it a little bit more over the next few weeks. And I had this very strong feeling that it was a podcast. At the time, I had another podcast. I was running our coach training. I have an energy coach certification. I train master transformation coaches on how to actually hold space for real transformation in the spiritual way, but also in the real world way with the skill of coaching. And I was in the thick of a training class, and those classes go a whole year. And I was thinking about this podcast in the back of my mind. And I was like, okay. And I hired a brand team to create a little logo and to create this beginning of a podcast. And I did not have the capacity for it. So it was this side project.
You don't say. You had a million things
happening
at the same time.
I had a million things happening.
Capacity?
But I was still trying to create it on my own. And it just wasn't, it was kind of coming together piece by piece and it wasn't exactly flowing. So I just trusted it. But the one thing I did do was make a playlist because the brand team that I was working with at the time had me create a playlist for the vibe, for the energy. They were like, give us the vibes with the playlist. So I
love that because that's frequency, right?
Yes.
Let me feel what this is going to come into fruition with.
Yeah, it was so powerful for me. And I ended up using that playlist in all of my events and retreats for the rest of that year. So the energy of Spiritual Girl was with us. And at the time I was training, one of my training classes was all women. So I told them about the idea and they all loved it. They were supportive. So we vibed out to the playlist at several of our retreats. I held probably 8 or 10 events that year with the playlist as kind of the background. And just never started the podcast, had this kind of idea for it. And then 2023 brought a lot of change for me. And I just took a hiatus from work. Towards the end of 2023, started to pop in again.
Yeah.
Spiritual girl. And I was like, and I said to my husband, I'm like, babe, I think I'm supposed to do Spiritual Girl. And he's like, yeah. And I go, I don't think I'm supposed to do it alone. He goes, I don't think you are either. And I was like, good.
But I don't know if Michael really fits a spiritual girl.
No.
So I don't know if it was him.
No, he just meant he was don't and also he's been around for a long time and has seen me out there in the world. And he was like, you deserve to do this in a fun way with someone fun. And I was like, yeah. So I just sat with it and I asked and prayed, who am I supposed to do this with? And Sam's name popped in.
So you're saying I'm fun?
Duh.
Okay, good. I come into this world really serious, you guys. I know I come off a certain way, but I'm very serious. And so I love that.
Well, but
Thanks.
this was also, but this was also like before we were as close as we were now too. So it was very uncomfortable to receive that information. And we were still like, we've known each other since like, what did we decide? End of 2018.
Yeah.
Maybe like been around the same spheres, hung out. We hung out in 2019, then the world shut down. And like towards 2021, we started to hang out again in circles. And so we weren't very close, but we were like, you know, I see you. I like you. I like you. And every time we hung out, it was great fun. And then we started to get closer last year. We did. We got a lot closer last year. I forgot about that part. And then your name started to pop in too. And I was like, okay. But we weren't there yet.
Yeah. We had not determined the relationship yet. We haven't DTR'd yet.
Yes. We dropped 4 episodes today to start. Has anybody heard the episode yet where we talk about that, the DTR in our relationship?
Oh, it's a fun one.
All right, check it out. It's I can't remember which episode number, 3 or 4, where we talk about the DTR, the moments, and we'll probably tell more of it. But this is before that.
Yep.
So it was should I tell this part at my wedding?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
this is funny because this is like, we're in the, okay, let me share this
great.
part because,
Thank you.
Okay, so we're at her wedding. It's amazing. We're having fun. We're dancing. She has pockets in her dress. It's great. And she pulls me aside and she's like, I think we need to do a podcast together. I'm like, are we talking about this at your wedding?
Full on in my wedding dress. Like it was like, hysterical moment.
This was in February of this year, February of 2024. And she was like, we're going to do this. And I'm like, okay.
Like, okay, wait, I have to say it like it happened. She like was right in front of me and like her and her date were greeting me and my husband. It was like this, oh, congratulations on your wedding moment. And we were like, yay, thanks. And I grabbed her hands and I was like, I can't stop thinking about this.
Yes.
I think we're supposed to do a podcast together. And I think it's supposed to be called Spiritual Girl. And she looks at, I'm full on in this wedding gown at my reception.
And it was sparkly and it was beautiful.
It was
oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Thank you. She looks at me and I saw the glimmer move through her eyes and she went, yes, instantly. It was this yes that rippled throughout both of us. And then, and then we just like continued on with the rest of the party and didn't talk about it again until April.
Yes. So April comes around and we revisit this. So we're like, okay, finally you've settled into married life. And we're like resurfacing into this conversation. We had a full day where we like downloaded all of these codes and it was feeling bigger and bigger and bigger. So much so that we couldn't stay inside Natalie's house. We had to go outside because the energy was like, woo, a lot. And we went outside and I was like, we
were like laying on the grass.
Yeah, I was like, I need to ground.
Spinning.
I got nauseous. I was like, this is a lot. And if you've ever had an energetic upgrade, you know about ascension symptoms and you know when big things come into your body, it's like it kind of hits you like a wave. Well, this hit us like a wave, like a tsunami. And we're grounding. And I was literally like, we need to stop this conversation. I'm going to throw up.
Yeah.
Not because I was scared, not because of anything like that, but it was so massive. And I think that we both realized in that moment, like this is way bigger than both of us. And so I left. We both knocked out. And then we didn't talk about it.
For months.
We talked about it for months. Because it was like one of those things like, you know, like Post and Ghost. It was like so big that we like put it out there and then we're like, we can't look at it just yet. Like that's a lot. And so it took a while to kind of come back. And then it took a different form. And we played in
June.
Yeah, we played with these different dynamics in June. We ended up going to Maui and like really coming into the land and feeling really grounded and being in the power of Maui and that luminary energy that is so bright and supportive. And it had a completely different form then.
And we were different.
We
were so different.
I don't even know that girl.
I know.
Who's changed in the past 90 days?
Every hand better be up in this room. I know all of you.
We've got sighs in the room. We've got heads shaking.
Yeah. I don't even know what happened, but I know. Well, partly for me too, there was a big physical change and upgrade. I changed my name. I was stepping into a new person, new identity, new last name. And I had a big process with that on Maui too.
Major.
Like letting go of my maiden self, stepping into my wife self. And, it just expanded us, like our own personal processes really expanded us so much so that we could finally start to talk about it again.
Yeah.
And we giggled at the fact that we had ghosted each other on it. Like we were talking in between. We were talking about other things.
We
like
just talking about this.
Yeah, like the next day it was like, oh, hey girl, what's up? Like we did not have that whole like big like download day. And because it was just like it was too big for both of us.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot in the podcast, so we don't have to talk too much more about it. But it was a big expansion that was happening for us, which was preparing us. And then, you know, it was about 9 months from that day at the wedding to when we finally sat down and started to record. So we joked that was our gestation process.
Yeah,
too.
It's our baby.
Yeah. And so this process has just been so much fun having you here. It literally couldn't have been born without you.
Oh.
It was just meant to be. And we're just so excited about this mission, basically, this understanding of what we want to do with this podcast and how we want to bring the light and to the world and explain it in a way that's fun and cool and trendy. And because it's our lives, this is literally how we live every day.
Right. It's like, I think that a lot of people wait for like that moment to talk about spiritual topics or something big has to happen. And this is like our daily conversations of like, what's going on with the stars today? What transit's happening in your chart? Like talking about human design, talking about Enneagram, talking about all of it, talking about frequency, literally everything. But that's our daily life. We don't wait for a special moment for it to feel right or for things to go super straight to the other direction where it's like, I need something. It's not like we're on our knees begging for these moments of spiritual connection. This is just our existence.
Yep.
And really we are like on this mission to be your spiritual big sisters. And so if you are new to spirituality or like woo curious, we got you. We're going to teach you about like simple things too, like that seem basic, but like that's where truth is. Like how to set an intention. What does an intention actually mean? How to actually manifest, and what does it mean to be in the light? Like we have gone through, I can't even count how many ego deaths. I can't even tell you. And how many dark nights of the soul, dark years of the soul, and really to dig down into the dark to come back into the light, and that it's not all butterflies and rainbows, and spirituality is deep and dark and terrifying sometimes. Yeah. And so we're going to bring the realness of that so that you don't feel crazy when you're on this journey alone. Like it really is an isolated experience until it's not. And then it gets isolating again. Yeah. But we're here to kind of help you along the way so that you don't feel lost in this journey. Because I know when I started out 15, 20 years ago, there was not access to this kind of information. You had to seek out mentors, and like you didn't know where to find a mentor. You didn't know who you could trust. You didn't know if what they were saying was really valid and true. And so you kind of had to wing it. And we're just so lucky that we have the ability to share and that we have access to touch a lot of souls and hopefully like be a little glimmer of light, or you know what, trigger you. Honestly, we triggered each other like moments before we got up here.
And we know what to do with it, you know, and we
alchemized it super fast.
Yeah, it was really fun, actually. Yeah. We'll share that story another time too. Yeah. We talk about it. We're like, should we tell that whole story tonight? We're like, no, we'll put that on the podcast. We'll put it on the podcast. But yeah, this is so true. Everything Sam is saying. And we've both been in this work, like in the actual work for a long time before we ever tried to start teaching it.
Right.
I had my awakening, found my first teacher about a year later, and then studied for 10 years in constant classes, processes with teachers before I even had the understanding, I could step out as a coach with this. Right. I could help people with this knowledge and information. And, during that time I was trying to, technology was not what it is now. So same, trying to find teachers, but found, thank God, my solid teachers to support me for several years to get to the place where I was clear. And I help people really clear their channel and open up their frequency too, by clearing energetic patterns. And so I had so much clearing to do on my own, again, before I ever tried to teach this stuff.
Right.
And I think that is something that both Sam and I really believe in, and we talk about a lot. And that's something that we hope to bring through this channel of this podcast too, is that integrity.
Yes.
That when we say we're your spiritual big sisters, we've got your back. We understand. We've been through it, and we are not sitting here because we are trying to get anything. We're not sitting here because we are wanting to be seen a certain way. We're sitting here because we understand, and we are so grateful and honored to be able to serve that in that way. And that's something that both of us have felt a calling on our life to do and to be. And we wouldn't be sitting here unless we were ready to be sitting here.
Absolutely.
My crown just tingled as I said that.
Whew, yeah. Big energy.
Yeah. And so, and that's something too that we've both been working toward, and something that felt important to share because, again, we understand how loud this world is right now. We understand there's a lot of information out there, and it's hard to discern, what's real, what's true, what's of the highest, what's clean, what's clear. The spiritual world is very interesting right now too, which is also part of our desire to step out with these messages now, because we truly believe in alignment with the highest. We truly believe in the highest levels of divine healing, light, and love frequency from God. And we both have chosen to take a stand for that amount of light. So when we, joke about the light, triggering you, like, we understand what that's doing, and we are not taking that lightly either. Right. So I wasn't planning on that coming out that way, but crown's tingling.
This is what happens when the channel is open, the message is delivered.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, just to give a little bit of background on myself too. I've known about my gifts for as long as I can remember. I remember channeling things when I was 8 years old and being psychically gifted from that young, and seeing auras, seeing spirits, and channeling with the other side. But I thought that was normal until I realized it wasn't, but it is, right? It's so wild how this journey goes. And then I was a trauma therapist for almost a decade. Most of you know that, but new listeners, we're planning on lots of new listeners, so everybody needs to know. Woo! But I've been in this work for a very long time, and similar to you, like, I didn't come out and just start coaching in the spiritual world for a very long time after my awakening and other awakening and other awakening. It doesn't just take one,
2, 3, 4. Yep.
Yeah. It takes a lot of awakenings to then be able to speak on what that journey is even like. And so we come here today with a lot of spiritual integrity. For me, it's like the utmost important to have integrity in this work, because karma, man, is hard, and I don't want to deal with that. I would rather not.
So true.
In things that I can control, at least, like, I'm obviously going to mess up, and like karma's going to be like, boom, got you. But with things like this, like, integrity is the utmost important, and to really honor the power that is here, and then to encourage all of you to find what that power is within you, and that it's not just spiritual gifts are not reserved for specific people. Yes, specific people have stronger connection that are sharpened, and it's harnessed, and that's their devotion in life. That's not everybody's purpose, but everybody has spiritual gifts. And so I'm excited to help guide some of that. But we've been around for a long time, and we've been through like the spiritual ringer. We talk about the spiritual 2x4. I talk about getting jumped by my spirit guides in the back alley. Like, it's been tough.
Yeah.
My spirit guides are serious. I'm an Aries, and they're like, I got you. Their gloves up. And I'm like, okay, just kidding. So we're just bringing a lot of truth and a lot of authenticity to be accessed by a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's the goal here.
Yeah. The spiritual journey will break you open. It will
spit you out,
destroy you. It will make you feel like the most incredible level of light and love, and it will confuse you, and it will give you clarity, and it will do all these wonderful things. And the biggest thing that we're also doing with this podcast is talking about the realness of being human. We're also entrepreneurs, and so navigating a spiritual journey with a spiritual career too has just been so interesting for both of us. And I had a 10-year speaking career too as a motivational speaker from 2004 to 2014, and I was about 6 years into my awakening, 4 years after working with my first teacher, and I decided I had to take a step off the stage for a little while. because I was completely out of integrity and my ego was crumbling. And I knew that my standing on a stage was no longer in integrity in the way that I had been. And so, you know, all these different things that we're going to talk about are from that realness, that rawness of knowing like your livelihood depends on this. Like, what am I doing now with my life? So we get it. We understand. And we're excited to be here and serving and be back, baby.
Be back, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's lighten it up a little too now.
Yeah.
We want this to be so much fun. And then you know, my husband knows this too. I've been taking a little break from work and now getting back into some work stuff. And I said to my husband, I'm not doing whatever is coming next. I'm not doing it unless it's going to be fun.
That's right. Amen.
Fun has been my intention. I've been so serious for so long. Some of you know, you've been in my life for a long time. You've seen me take things, especially spiritual work, so seriously.
Yeah.
And now Sam and I have just been having so much fun with this energy. And we are so excited to invite you into this level of fun and hang out and to just, you know,
chat it up,
do the dang thing, get a little woo-woo, and do what we came here to do.
Do what we came here to do. So with that, we would love to open up the floor for some questions. Like, again, like this is just a phone conversation. You can just even like, hey Sam, hey Nat, and take some questions and answer in real time. And just have a conversation about it. We don't have mics for out there, but I'll repeat the question and then we'll jam on that. Who has got the first question? Oh, I know we're not about to not have our hands up. Thank you, Natalie in the back.
Okay, so one of the things you mentioned, just in like the inception story, is that when you first had this experience with each other, it's like it dropped into you, you said it to Sam, and then you had this massive like experience with it, and then it was like, you said posted and ghosted.
Yeah, posted and ghosted.
Posted and ghosted.
And so I was thinking about like, oh, I've experienced that, and yet there's a lot of times I get stuck in this like, oh, I'm starting things, I have these ideas, and I never follow through. Or is it, like, how do you kind of discern between, is this worth waiting for and just kind of letting that be? Because there's certain things I keep coming back to, but also, like you said, once it was with each other, then it happened.
It flowed.
Yes.
Sometimes I get in this space of like, I'm fickle, I can't follow through.
Oh, yeah.
But also, I feel inspired by the idea. So, just
yes.
want to have your
I love
We have an
this.
episode on this already. Remember the saying yes?
But we can answer more
We're
of this.
going to totally answer.
Okay, so let me reiterate just so we can get here. Okay, so really it's like when there's a big idea that comes through and a yes, but not right now. And then do you let it go, or where's the discernment to follow through? Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, like in that moment.
In the moment, yeah.
In that moment.
And let these things go,
Or
or do I just kind of wait it out?
Do
Like,
I
it
follow
sounds like you
through
guys did.
or do I let it go?
Yeah.
Great question.
Okay, do you want to go first?
No.
Okay.
I felt like she was ready to go.
I'm a manifesting generator. So if you know anything about human design, manifesting generators get a million ideas.
Yeah, we both are.
And that's right. So things are like cycling in and out literally every single day. I have the next best idea every single day. And for me, it's really about, does it come with ease? And not everything's meant to be easy, but is it easeful in the body? Is my body contracting and being like, ooh, great idea, ooh, but not for me, or not right now? And it's taken me some time to discern the pause and be patient. Say that again, be patient with the unfolding. I'm also, like I said, in Aries, your girl's not patient. I want things done yesterday. And so for me, it's taken a lot of time to like be in prayer about it, be in meditation about it. When things come in, I sit with it. Sometimes it's like, I need to act on this now, but like your body literally does it without you even trying. Like my body's going to jolt out of like I had to dance, right? Like I had to get out of those bowls. My body needed to do it now. And so for me, it's like, what is my body telling me? Because my brain is going to make up a lot of stories, and I'm either going to talk myself into something that I'm not ready for, or talk myself out of something that's going to stretch me, that God, source, universe is really calling me to do. And it's feeling. So it's feel like you have to be really in touch with how your body is speaking to you. and have that clear channel open on and when to move on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I love this, and I want to honor you too for being a channel.
Yeah.
Because we know what that's like. And the million ideas come because you're connected. You're connected to God. You're connected to source energy. You're connected to the frequencies that are coming in and big ideas that are here to serve.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we're like little antennas and we pick up on ideas. I did talk about this in one of the episodes where I had an idea for a book title. I didn't act on it. I didn't say yes to it. And someone else created it. And I think Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this too in Big Magic. Like the idea is like moving on to someone else.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's what is happening too. So it's about also going, okay, wait, is this for me?
Mm-hmm.
Is this idea really mine? And do I want to grab it, pull it down, and do something with it? Like, is it a yes that I can move forward? Is it in alignment with where I want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And then to the body portion, I have a decision-making tool in my work that I teach. And for about 2 to 3 years, I would set this intention that everything I did would expand me, even if it was uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be how I would decide if I wanted to do something. It would expand me, and I could literally feel that in my body if it was expansive in my breath or if my breath would contract. And I knew that the ones that expanded me were something that was pulling me forward, that was bringing me into what I wanted to do next. And that was because I also had preset intentions for my work, that whatever I did, I prayed, whatever I do, I want it to be in alignment with the highest and greatest good for all beings, including me.
Mm-hmm.
So like setting that intention that like presets your words, it presets your movement in the world too. It presets you for a day. You know, you can pray that as you start your day, like, dear God, creator, source, the divine, I ask to be a channel for only the highest and greatest good. And may I also be on the receiving end of that as I move through my days. And so that also has saved me a lot too, like through uncomfortable moments and through moments of like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like I would always come back into, okay, wait, I asked that this be, you know, of the highest and for the highest. So I know that I'm a channel right now for the highest and for the divine. And it helps me kind of sort out too what is happening like in my brain when my brain's arguing with it.
Yeah.
Or my body is freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that answer your question? Yeah.
Boom. We
Did that
got
help?
it. We did it.
Okay. There's such good questions like to start too. I'm so excited for this level of conversation because like
too.
these are advanced beings. You guys are advanced. If
I
you're like
know.
clicking with this, is anybody clicking with this type of vibe? You're like, yes. Okay, good. That's not baby.
Yes.
Woo. Yay.
Let's
So I am planning my own podcast for next year.
Woohoo. Congrats.
I'm going to
Yay.
open my wax room.
Oh, amazing.
So real conversations, real-time appointments.
Wow.
Real clients, unfiltered, very raw, very honest, very blended into my personal spiritual journey, and just needing a space for my own transformation. And creating that for myself just has opened up my clients in a completely different way once I got into my own space and my own environment and controlled what walked through that door every day. All of a sudden I just had clients opening up about just years of sexual abuse in their marriages. All of a sudden my coaching is like transforming into something totally different. And I have about 100 clients that are all yeses.
Wow. To being recorded on the podcast.
Yes.
Wow.
Amazing.
Recorded, yeah. My question is exposing my personal life because this is also my story. Very raw and unfiltered. Also going to be very surprising to a lot of people in my world. Even stepping out in my awakening has dropped off. Of course, everybody knows happens. Those energies disappear. Reappearing or energy, even if they don't physically manifest, just that energy and keeping myself. Best advice on how to stay in that integrity. My business name is Authenticity Wellness.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, so good.
Authentic is so important to me.
Yeah.
To speak the truth, though it may be hard or tough, still in love, still 100% in alignment with the divine truth.
I love that.
That hard-hitting, deep, dark.
Yeah.
Like, dark night is full every day.
We love
ripping out people's souls.
We love a conscious service provider, though.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, conscious service provider, conscious beauty service providers.
Right.
We
Yeah.
love them.
The vulnerability of the exposure in my room.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Like for real.
Literally.
So the question is how to stay in integrity and be authentic while sharing your story and some things that might be surprising, or like there might be a shock factor, or some things that might hurt feelings. Yeah. And how to do that responsibly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, I have so much to say about that. Okay, let's do it.
Go, mama.
So being a trauma therapist, right? Like there's to be authentic is to be true about who you are. And I am always the first to expose myself. I'm like, let me tell you the story because I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it even for myself. But when I do speak of that, it's from a place of a scar, not an open wound. So not to bleed out on people. I don't need other people putting me back together. Like, girl, I zipped me up. I stitched me up, or all my healers, all of my people that helped me, you know, but like when I'm at the point of sharing that, it's that I'm grounded in that truth. I'm grounded in that authenticity. So it's not coming from a questioning place. So I think there's a way to be authentic that is like in real time. Like right now, I'm being very authentic. Like no part about me is like faking this moment, right? But like I mentioned earlier, like we both triggered each other earlier. Yeah, we're going to talk about it, but we're not going to talk about it right now. We don't need to. And we're also like super good. And so even if we did share it right now, we wouldn't be bleeding out, but settle in and ground into your truth. So when you do speak it, it comes through authentic. It doesn't come through as victimhood. It doesn't come through as look at me because I did this. It's just like, no, girl, I feel you. I've been there. You're not one-upping. You're not trying to steal back an energy from somebody. It's just, it's neutral, right? And so if you feel activated when you're sharing, it's probably not time. When you share from a neutral spot. That's intuition too. Like intuition is very neutral. It's not elevated or declining. It just is. And so that would be my biggest advice is share from a very neutral, authentic place.
Yeah.
How about for you?
I would say, first of all, so excited for you.
I know, amazing.
Oh, so cool. This is a really interesting like path to navigate, you know, especially if you're a light worker, you're called to share your story, you're called to share your light through obviously your vessel, your channel, your body, your light. It has several people in it. We're not on this planet alone. If we were meant to be on this planet alone, we wouldn't be on a planet with 8 billion other people, right? Especially like this work too. If you're meant to do it alone, we wouldn't be here. And so, you know, acknowledging that there are people in your life that may not be on the spiritual path or maybe, you know, not happy that you're speaking out and speaking about a certain topic that may involve them. I would say advice, if there are people that are still like in your immediate sphere, family or something like that, I would maybe, you know, say, hey, just kind of broach the topic. I'm going to start speaking out a little bit more. If you want to have a conversation, we can set a safe space to talk about it more. I just don't want you to be blindsided that this is going to happen. And just to let them know that's something that I went through too in my world. I spoke for 10 years about something that I went through, and some people in my life and family were not happy I was doing so, but I had to have some difficult conversations and still stand in the face of their not being happy with it throughout that career for me, which, you know, was also my attachment to that story was another thing. That was part of the thing that needed a shift for me too. So, you know, checking yourself too on the attachment to that story as well. Because sometimes, you know, it's part of the process to get you here, but it doesn't have to be something that you continually look back at. And so if there's something that you need to say, you know, you can say it. And like Sam said, you know, make sure you're not activated by it. And then, you know, you're in a good place to talk about it. That charge will tell you like, ooh, hey, I might still be too much in this. And I can maybe seed it and say, you know, there's something in the future that I want to talk more about, but right now I'm still in my process about it, then, then it's also making a safe space for you too. Cause I know standing on a stage for 10 years, talking about some of the worst things that ever happened to me, it just prolonged that healing.
Right.
And it kept that wound open for me too. And so, and it's always surprising too, when like things happen that charge you, you're like, man, I thought I was over that, or man, I thought I was through that. Man, I thought I healed that wound. Healing is not linear, as we know. It's this circular process, and there's ins and outs, and there's the expansion that we call it, and the contraction moments. And so like, we just love ourselves through it and acknowledge, that this process is going on. But we also have to acknowledge there's people that aren't doing any work on it too, that maybe went through it as well. So, just as delicately as we can, being responsible with our light, that's a big part of this process too, and being a light worker too. There's that guns blazing, like I need to share this energy, that has its place too. And there's also, that responsibility factor. So, so we're here if you want to talk it out more. But yeah, that's definitely, it's admirable. And I'm excited too for all of the clients that are wanting to be heard as well in their stories and their coaching and their processes. Like, that's really very amazing, that more and more people are opening up for live coaching to be recorded, with their vulnerability and their process, because things live on the internet forever these days. Right. So, there's a lot of different schools of thought around, those things too, and discerning, are those people really in a place where they're ready for coaching, or do they maybe need therapy? Yeah. And being responsible with that too, because that's something that we are always making sure we're aware of too. And anybody that comes into our world, okay, are they in a place where they're actually ready for coaching on this? They can move forward from this. If they're not, and you can feel that too, or discern that, or you also feel out of your depth, make some therapeutic recommendations.
I got you
immediately. Guys. Yeah.
I know some people.
Yeah, me too. There's some in this room. And so
I would say piggybacking off of that too, this is kind of like general for everybody who is like going into very vulnerable situations, is, have boundaries, boundaries for yourself, for the energy that you're sharing. And then for you specifically with this venture is, what does the aftercare and integration look like? Don't answer that right now, but start really thinking about that, because you don't want to just open people up and be like, okay, thanks for sharing. Bye. That's not responsible. That is literally like doing open heart surgery, leaving them open on the table and be like, figure that out. Try to put yourself back together. Yeah. Try to find the sutures over there when you're on the table. So, just be really careful with people. Take care of them. Make sure that you aren't just leaving them open and exposed, because that's dangerous for them, Yeah, it's dangerous for you, but like, whoa, could you imagine just like out here, literally your arteries are like, this is getting gory. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to step it back.
But it's so true.
But
light is powerful.
I've been in that position. I've been in a position where I'm like, whoa, I just got out of an experience that I feel super open and exposed, and I don't know what to do with myself now. And integration is really important. So I'll land it there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think did we answer that question for you to help advice wise? Okay. Awesome. Great question.
Yeah. Amazing question.
We love talking about this stuff, as you can tell.
Yes.
We're like, let's rein it in a smidge.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
I've been through one spiritual awakening, and now I'm like, wait, there's more?
Yes. Welcome.
So, looking forward to that. But yeah, I think that I grew up as a very strong Christian, very focused on portraying myself as a perfect individual and very materialistic. And now, after my awakening, I consider myself a spiritual girly, but I still like some to have nice things look cute and drive nice cars. So I would just love to hear from both of you where you're at now through your multiple awakenings, and also just being so experienced in this world now. Yeah, why did you decide to tie that into the title of the podcast? And how do we remain true and authentic to ourselves, but still like some of these materialistic things?
love this question. This
Perfect.
is actually, whoa, you really set us up here. Good job.
You can tip me later.
Okay, great. So just reiterating this question is really how to exist, you know, from growing up in like this quote unquote, you have to be perfect and have to show up as like the put together one or the good girl or, you know, good boy, whatever, and then be very put together in this nice little tidy box with a bow on top, and then going through a spiritual awakening, and then also still really appreciating and loving material things, but then there's a different experience with it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you go?
Yeah,
We
you
go?
can go
We go?
first. You can go first.
We're going-
I mean, but same. Like the growing up a good girl.
Yeah.
Christian. You know, we also still love us some Jesus, so
Love Jesus.
we're not opposed to it. But there's a wider scope now, you know, an understanding, bigger understanding. Some of that rigidity has fallen away, and so with that, obviously, attachment to a lot of the things falls away, and then. I guess I'm going. I guess I'm answering.
Let's
And
go.
so I had that too, that purge phase where you're like, none of this matters. We don't need any of this, especially the spiritual awakening. Like suddenly you're conscious, you're aware of so many things. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't have that. That's unethically made. Oh my gosh, I have to get rid of that. That's not conscious. Oh my gosh, that's leather. You know, like it's a real thing. Like seriously, that's happened to me multiple times. And so I understand. And then you also, where I'm at too, is kind of getting to the place a little bit further down the line too, where I'm like, okay, if none of it matters, and I can't take any of this with me, what do I want to create?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to do now? What do I want to do with the fact that nothing matters, you know? And I think a part of me always appreciated this like girly things, the sparkly things. There was a big detachment from it and detachment from clothes and jewelry and all the things. Like I talked about this in one of the episodes that we released today too. I went from wearing all white all the time as almost a bypass. Like if anybody was around me in 2020, 21, 2022, all white all the time. And it was a little, I had to realize later it was a little bit of a bypass for me to not have to connect to the material world, which was actually what I needed at the time. It really served me to not have to pay attention to clothes, like just get up, serve, like be in channel all day or a day and be in the white and be very in an ungrounded place in that way for that reason. Like there was a lot happening and it needed to be that way. And then getting actually married, reconnecting with my very Virgo husband, who's an earth sign, has supported me in a big way, getting more down connected to the world. And there's been more than one, we should probably share this at some point, more than one conversation at the time where he was like, I need you here. Like I need you here on the earth with me. And so having that other person in my energy field in the beginning was a lot. It was very intense for me. And then once I started to really be able to work with that energy, like appreciate that energy, alchemize his energy and our fields together, I realized like, oh, okay, it's not so bad down here again. It's not so bad when, you know, connecting to these girly things again. And again, it was very jarring for me though, like very jarring, but it was also this like newfound exploration that I got to play with. Like, oh, okay, if anything is possible, seriously, if none of this matters, what do I like? What is this new version of me like? What does she want to dress like? What does she want to do? You know? And so I think you have to go through that detachment phase to then decide what you want to pick back up, you know, because that purge is actually sacred. You know, the letting go of all the things and the attachment to all the things is like a really intense process, but it's actually so important. So then you're even more clear and intentional moving forward. And it's not that you're not like conscious of certain things. I intentionally now choose things that maybe even a lower frequency, but consciously, right? So it's all about awareness and it's all about consciousness. And then I choose to alchemize that frequency
I love that.
too, you know? So it's all about the balance, you know? And so you get to like really figure out what that feels like for you to be in your highest alignment too.
I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Makes perfect sense. I love this question because this just really exemplifies the journey. Because you go from one side of the spectrum, you kind of float to the other polar opposite, and then you weave back over to this side, but totally transformed internally. And so it can look the same on the outside, but inside, you're not the same at all. And so, and I've done this too, like, you know, like I love fashion, like fashion. We've actually shared clothes. This is great. I love some like material things, but now my connection to it is different. Previously, it came from a place that I was trying to seek worth in material things. I was trying to find answers on the outside. And once you go through your awakening, none of that matters. Literally nothing matters except for what's happening inside. And so it's like, it's pretty crazy because then you lose all of these identifiers of who you think you are. Like, oh, I thought I was this bougie girl. Oh, I thought I was this perfect girl. Oh, I thought. And then you remember, oh no, this is who I am. And I can dress it up and I can put jewels on and I can do all of that. And it's beautiful, but now it's not attached to self-worth. It's not attached to answers outside of self. I love getting dressed up. I got red bottoms on, girl. Like, I'm not going to get rid of them.
Yeah.
But this is just fun. It's just play. And I get to use it in that way. So for me now, coming back into more material things, it's like, how can I play? How can I expand my energy that way? How can my frequency expand because of these things? Not because of who I am, because I know who I am. And it's not red bottoms, right? And so I think that that's kind of like the full circle moment. And it'll happen again. It'll happen again and again and again. You'll be like, oh yeah, none of this means anything. And then you're like, hold on. Then and then that gets really scary too. You're like, if nothing means nothing.
Yeah. Nothing means nothing means nothing. Okay, I have one more thing on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you want did I cut
No,
you off?
yeah,
Okay.
good. You're good.
Okay. So I love that you shared the good girl thing because it, for me, was kind of woven up into the spiritual journey. Like, how do I do this right?
Oh my gosh. Who here feels like they need to do spirituality right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing. Like, I got to be good at this.
Lots of hands up.
To be pure. I have to be the purest. I have to be the highest frequency I can. That was part of like putting on white all the time because I was like, well, this is easy. I know this is clean, clear. Let's go.
Yeah.
I don't need an attachment to the clothes, but also like there was a little part of me that was like, this is the right way to do spirituality. This is right.
There's so many yoga retreats, not just yoga. It's revert that back. So many retreats and masterminds that are spiritual things that you show up and it's like everybody's wearing the linen and the flowy dresses and the braids and the hats and the malas and the everything. And it's like, holy shit, I don't fit here either. That sucks. So sorry, I totally interrupted, but it's like to this point.
I've been, because I love this question because I've been bouncing back and forth between what's the right way to do spirituality for a long time. So in 2018, quick story, I was still doing speaking. I took a step off the stage, came back in 2016 and started speaking again until the world shut down in 2020. So I was getting paid professionally to speak. In 2018, I had a speaking gig pulled because they looked at my social media and they said to me, you're too spiritual. And that shooketh me to my core. So insert awakening number, God knows whatever at that point. And I had a moment where I was like, if I can't reach the people I'm here to reach, then what am I doing? Am I not doing, am I, too spiritual for this world? Am I not spiritual enough for, me? Like, should I just go? And I contemplated this. Should I go shave my head and go live on the side of a mountain for the rest of my life and meditate? Like literally had these serious discussions. I had some friends who talked me down, but I was like having moments in 2018 where I was like, I can't even do, I can't do the real world right. I'm not spiritual enough then because I looked in the mirror, I had this moment where I looked in the mirror and I saw my eyelash extensions. I've had eyelash extensions on since 2010 and I love them because to me, they're like a convenience thing too. Talk about this in one of the episodes too. And then I looked at my hair and I realized I had hair highlights in my hair. And I'm like having this whole moment looking myself in the mirror. And of course, this is after years of doing mirror work, right? So it still continues. And this is like during that big process around you're too spiritual. And I realized that I lived in the middle of a big city, live in the middle of Phoenix, Arizona. I have very connected to this world family and parents and like people that are just where I was around that were like my people. And I thought this has got to be a mistake. And I heard so cleanly and clearly, there's been no mistake.
That's beautiful.
You're planted here in the body you chose, in this body. You like the things you like. You have the surrounding soul contracts already set up for you for a reason. And I heard that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. So your spiritual light, your spiritual awakening is going to be perfect for your mission. It's going to be perfect for your calling, the soul contracts you have with people that aren't even in your life yet. You don't even know who they are yet, right? So your way of doing spirituality is the right way of doing spirituality. Does that make sense? Like there's been no accident. There's been no mistake. And so for me, it was a long path of weaving in and out of how to do spirituality right and how to, show up in a certain way that looks pure, that feels pure. And then I even had a process with it this summer. Like somebody very, very close to me came at me for something that I was doing and somebody I've known a long time. And I was like, she was saying, alluding to the fact that it wasn't very conscious. And I was like, but it's a very conscious choice that I'm making.
Right.
And so it was a moment for me, again, to like go back and check myself and go, wait, what is right, quote unquote? What is wrong, quote unquote? What is my desire right now and my choice? And that's what it comes back to at the end of the day. You and your soul and your light and your connection to God is yours and yours alone. It's okay if someone else doesn't understand it. It's okay if someone else judges you and thinks you're not spiritual enough because you like a certain type of shoe or you drive a certain type of car and you also are a spiritual being and teacher. It's okay. It's all okay because the people that are waiting for you are looking for your specific flavor of light and love and energy that's coming through you in your way.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Amen. Preach, sister. Yes.
Does that help? Does that help a little, like around the right wrong stuff? We so feel you on the right wrong. It's like such a thing, especially in the spiritual world. There's a lot of judgment for a lot of like love and light people.
For really good reminder
for real.
to check in with your intuition and feel people's energy.
Discernment.
Yeah.
Feel into what their body's telling them.
Yeah. Yes. And we're going to have like those moments, those lessons, like there's no just like, oh, I'm done with my right, wrong stuff. I healed that issue. Like, no, it's going to pop back up. It's going to show it to you again.
Are you kidding me?
You're going to have lots of iterations with different, I call them pieces of your human curriculum, right? A big piece of my human curriculum is the good girl stuff, the right, the wrong stuff. And so it still shows up, it shows up in all the ways it's supposed to for me to continue to become even more of my authentic self.
And I'm like, so on the opposite. I'm like, how can I be the rebel, right? Yeah. Like, no part of me is the good girl. Like, So I have to work out of that.
We're balancing each other out.
I have to work out of the rebel and like the hard warrior into the soft, like a little bit good, good girl. I can handle a little bit of that in my life now.
She asked me to check her on things all the time.
I'm like, am I being a total bitch?
Yeah.
Or just like a little bit.
and I'll be honest, but then like she also prays this prayer to soften that.
I do. I really pray this prayer of softening myself every single day.
Yeah.
Because I came in as a spiritual warrior. And I know there's a lot of people in this room who came into this world as spiritual warriors, and we have a place too. We just have some unwinding in the other direction of like how to soften and connect and not always have to be at war and have that hard armor on and like take the heaviness of the metal armor and put on the armor of light and be soft and gentle with ourselves, because that's really comes from. That's a whole other podcast. We'll get into that.
Totally.
Who's got another question?
This is so good. I love that. Well, you said that though. You never said that in that way. That was so good. So that is so true. And then I'm over here like working to get stronger, praying for a thicker skin, and like, and seriously, that was a prayer I prayed for like months. I need a thicker skin. My husband's nodding because I could feel everything so deeply.
I feel everything too, but I want to fire it up and like burn it down.
I want to hide.
Bring the torches.
I want to run and hide.
Oh my God. Yeah. We got some Aries in the house. I see you.
My Aries Enneagram 8s in the room are laughing. Okay, who's on my side of things? That like softy, like I want to hide when the good girl, right, wrong, yeah. Okay, all right. I got some team members in this room too.
Yeah, this is balanced.
But do you see why we make sense in this? Like you're starting to get the flow of this energy between us too, and how we balance each other out and love each other up and check each other and help each other grow. It's really fun.
It's so precious. Yeah. It's so beautiful. All right. I feel like this side of the room. What do we got over here?
Hi. So I know both of you talked about taking spiritual sabbaticals and taking time to reconnect and to ground or do whatever you need to do. How do you decide during that time what your intention is and how you spend that time in order to come out on the other side evolved and transcended?
So
Great
beautiful.
Question.
The question is about taking a spiritual sabbatical, which I feel like I coined this term this summer.
Sure did.
Woo.
Good work.
And it's like going fast. I love it.
Trendsetter.
Yeah. And then like how to set an intention for that spiritual sabbatical to actually make it worthwhile, right? Not just to take a sabbatical, to just not do anything. Yeah. Or fake it or like mask it with something or dissociate or numb it out. But like, how do you really use that time intentionally and then to come out on the other side?
Mm-hmm. Go, baby.
I'll go. Let's do this. I very intentionally went into a spiritual sabbatical this summer. I knew in January I would be doing this. So I set myself up for like 6 months in advance, knowing that I was going to go into a very deep spiritual cocoon. And I didn't know what that was going to look like at all. And thank God, because I probably wouldn't have done it, right? And so if you see everything, you kind of miss out on what's beyond that. So this is kind of like another general statement. Like if you don't see the path, if it's not super clear, thank God, because it'd be too scary to see all of it, or you'd be like, no, I'm not going to take a sabbatical. I'm just going to keep on going. So I went into this like really, really deep surrender. And my intention was only that. Surrender, and I'm not going to move until I'm told to move by God. And I was so serious. I am still so serious about that. And I will continue to do that until my last breath, is that I was operating from a place of me and what I thought was going to be good and what my mind was making up. And yeah, that stuff was good, but also it was only good to a certain extent. Like my throat's closing up. It's like, okay, throat chakra, come on. It just like shows you, right? Like I only could take myself so far, and I knew that I had to let go, and I was really good at it. I was making money. I had momentum. I was getting visibility. It wasn't like things were going wrong. In fact, by all matters, I should have just kept going, right? Like the data was supporting me to keep going. And I knew in my soul, it can't. And in order to serve in a bigger capacity, I had to go internal and I had to listen so intently. So it was to surrender, it was to listen, and it was to only move when I've been guided. And that anything else, I would just wait. I was just going to wait for as long as it took. And it took an uncomfortable amount of time. I was planning for a month. It took about 2.5 months, and I'm still kind of in it. I'm just a little bit more, I'm more visible now, but that doesn't mean I'm out of my spiritual sabbatical. I'm still very deeply connected into what that looks like for me, which means my practices, my personal practices are longer. There's more devotion. There's more silence. I'm saying no to a lot more. And I had to like, my inner child's like kicking and screaming through this sabbatical, like wanting to come out and be like, okay, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? We know that feeling, right? And God was like, nope, not yet. And I was like, are we there yet? Like my body was vibrating to come out. But it was the most beautiful experience. And I can say with like ultimate truth is that had I not done that, I don't think this podcast would be existing. Mm-mm. Some of the most amazing opportunities that I got up to this point in my career would not have happened. And my capacity to hold is much bigger. I'm more grounded. I feel at peace with myself. Like I feel so good. And there's chaos everywhere. And I feel so good. And so the spiritual sabbatical, and we have an episode on this, the ROI of surrender, your return on investment when you just say, it's not me anymore, you got to take over, is beyond what you could possibly imagine. So you cannot plan it. I know you're trying to plan it. Like I know, type A3 on the Enneagram. Like I know you're trying to plan it, but you can't. You just have to let go. Yeah. And trust.
Yeah.
Fully, deeply trust.
I've taken several spiritual sabbaticals. None of them were planned. All of them happened because I was literally to the point where I couldn't keep going. And some were more conscious than others. But I would say if you're, it kind of goes back to what I was just saying about trying to do spirituality and growth right.
Yeah.
we are big believers in finding teachers. We're very big believers in my spiritual growth happened through teachers, through support, through coaches, through healers, the same as Sam, like, cause she had formal schooling too around, being a trauma counselor. And so that, like, when you're in sometimes those moments of, I literally can't go forward, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So stay open to that. If you're ever at a point where you're like, I can't move forward, I need some guidance. And a very simple thing I did too through earlier years before I was ever a spiritual coach. I don't know why I did quotes with that. I've always like spiritual coach, but before I was a spiritual coach and I was just on my own journey to expand, I would again set that intention every day. And I would say to myself, pray to God, okay, my intention today is to expand in whatever way that looks like. And I would be open to the miracles of what the day would show me. And boy, if it didn't show me something that would expand me every single dang day. And that was a huge way that I started to grow, because then you have lots to work with. Then you have material, you have things that you're suddenly feeling, you have opportunities to look inside, you have things to journal about, you have things to process out loud with a healer, a supporter, a counselor. And you're then expanding, right? So that's just a little mini thing you can do to start to come out of the other side evolved. And it will happen. Your soul knows what it's doing. The human self is like, let me figure it out. Show me the roadmap, show me, every single step. And while there are steps, there's also, those every day that you're waking up in this body and, in those moments that are going to be unexpected too, that are going to help you grow. And none of us can script that. We all have those stories. Sam and I's, our journeys are built on moments that were like, oh my God, I didn't see this coming. And that's where the biggest growth then happens. And so I would stay open and intentionally do that with that intention. Anybody can use that intention. If you try that intention, try it for like 2 weeks and see what happens. Give yourself an endpoint. Yeah. Give yourself an endpoint, because that helps the brain, go, okay. And then, report back, because we want to hear. But also, with that intention every morning, there was also a closing every day and an honoring of myself every day at night. So as I was going to bed, I would honor myself, and I would say, and I had this little prayer that I actually had written out that I would say to myself. I would say, I end this day with gratitude. I end this day honoring myself for the growth that happened today, for the things I saw, for the things I felt, for the things I decided to do. I did the best I can today. I'm closing down today. I'm turning it over to God now as I sleep too. And I'm closing down, and I am going to rest and wake up tomorrow and do it again.
Amen.
So bookend the day during those periods too, and watch the magic unfold.
That's beautiful. Surrender. We love it. Okay.
If you are listening to this, please come and find us on Instagram.
Yes.
We are Love Natalie Hunter and Sam _E_Peace. Sammy Peace and Love Natalie Hunter. Come find us on Instagram and send us your questions.
Yeah.
We want to hear them. We want to answer them. We are very much going to be still sharing our personal processes, but we want to do more of this and answer questions for you. So you can send us voice memos. You can type out your question, and we're so happy to drop in and answer those questions. And also please follow Spiritual Girl Podcast on Instagram as well. And listen, she is on Spotify today. She is on iTunes, and she's coming very soon to YouTube.
Yes.
Bless our support systems for the editing, so you'll be able to see us too. Did we do it? We did it.
Yeah.
This is the best crowd. Thank you so much for being here. This is the best crowd. What do you want to end with, darling?
Thank you so much. I feel, man, I want to just keep going. I want to keep going. And good thing we have a platform now to do that.
I know, right?
This has been so beautiful, though. Like, really, this is our baby. Like, this came to the big, like, it's been a while. And so just so grateful for each and every one of you for showing up tonight. And we want to invite you to continue this conversation with us, to continue bringing questions, to continue to be curious and be open and listen and slow down. And if you're a spiritual warrior, take that armor off. And if you're a good girl, put some armor on, like, like toughen up. But just be in awe of the unfolding. I think that's really what it is. It's just, I'm in awe of this. Like, this is so beautiful. This is better than what I could have imagined. And I'm so grateful for you, Natalie. I'm so grateful for you. So thank you for inviting me in on this download that you got 3 years ago. Thank you for thinking I'm fun. Can't see it. And I'm just so excited for the unfolding of this.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and thank you for being you and for helping me have fun in this material world, for helping me. We talk about this in one of the episodes that dropped today too. Sam used to be a stylist. So I had a whole process this summer of deciding how does Natalie Hunter dress? So who is she? You know, as she's coming out of this period wearing all white. Sam was a huge part of that in so many ways. So literally not just here bringing her wisdom, but bringing her heart and her soul and her generosity and her love to help me navigate this material world with so much love and compassion, and be able to embrace all aspects of who I am here too. So thanks for loving me through this and just being you. This is awesome.
I love you.
I love you.
Love you. I love
So
this.
fun.
Yeah.
It could be all of us.
Yeah. So the way that we sign off is kind of cutesy.
Yeah.
So it's until next time.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, like attuned in your body and your frequency. Get that? Hey. Until next time, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.